An historic wealth exodus transforming America's economic map. New York City's highest earners leaving the Big Apple and heading south for low taxes, or, excuse me, no taxes state and pro-business policies. New York City has lost $14 billion in income to Florida since 2017. $9.2 billion of that income landed in just 3 counties, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, and Broward. Hedge funds, tech firms packing their bags. And it's not just New York. Out west, Los Angeles is in a free fall. Tourism drying up, with hotel bookings in some neighborhoods falling as much as 70%. That city, set to host the World Cup and the Olympics, is now struggling to fill hotel rooms. Kenny, you're Floridian.
I live in Palm Beach. I was one of those people 7 years ago that fled, right? But yeah, no, it is out of control in terms of the people that are coming down, kind of the change in the demographic, the change in the scene. It's not, old Florida like a lot of people think. It is very vibrant. There's a lot going on. There's lots of investment. There's lots of these firms coming down from New York, Boston, Chicago, coming down into Florida. And I think it's been outstanding.
I've been one of those that's been stuck here, because we come here. That's what we do, fair. But I got to go down to Florida a bunch this winter. And if I didn't have to come here, I would go there.
So
there's no reason not to.
Listen, do you think there's anything that can turn this around? Because for me, this is a simple Jerry Maguire equation. States saying, show me the money, and businesses saying, help me help you, cut my rates so that I can do business here. I think the pendulum,
money is going to go to where it's treated the best.
Correct.
That's fair, but
just combine that with quality of life is all I was going to say,
right.
And it's a no-brainer.
Right. I will say it is an easier quality. It is just an easier quality of life. It is so much easier.
This winter was brutal here.
Yeah, it is an easier qually of life.
It's still raining like 5 days out of the 7 days
monsoon season
through June. The only caveat in this, my in-laws are from the Tampa, Florida area. The housing run-up, and I know it's cooled, but the massive housing run-up has priced out so many people.
It's from $260,000 medium house in price of median house in 2016 to over $430,000.
And that is where you think about taxes, home insurance, the cost of repairing the roof.
Right.
Not to say the capital isn't treated better in Florida. Absolutely. But all of those people who've just seen their housing prices double, but then can't afford then the real estate taxes on top of that.
And the hurricanes, like I lived through 2004, 3 hurricanes in a row.
I'm sorry, is it so cheap to live here?
I'm not.
Because it's not cheap to live here.
I'm not saying that. No, I think this is a tax issue more than a lifestyle issue, because here's what's going to happen. If everyone and their mom keeps moving to Florida, it turns into LA where the traffic is unbearable and your quality of life gets sapped by 2 hours.
It's already kind of like that.
Well,
the traffic's pretty bad.
I live in North Palm Beach on the Jupiter line. It's not like that. If you go down to Delray, Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale, absolutely, and I don't want to live down there, right? Miami's out of control. But I live right on the line, Jupiter and North Palm Beach. It's very nice up there. There's enough going on, but it's not super crowded. And if you move in off the coast a little bit, the cost of housing is substantially less than closer to the water. Yeah, for sure.
I will say I took a very statistic, double-controlled, blind, placebo-tested poll on
3 people or 2?
Twitter. And X is adamant that it is a permanent shift. One person responds, structural shift that may accelerate over time. NYC was great, but power shifting to decentralization. Permanent, only brainless move back. Blue states will keep losing wealthy unless they dial back taxes. Permanent, hey, California here, business never returning until we break the Democrat anti-business over-regulating high-tax monopoly. Hey, my company's never going back unless I come to visit Fox News headquarters. So I know that that's not a large sample, but everyone is like, nope, never going back.
But you know what?
I just want to say one thing. As a property owner in Miami, it doesn't have to be New York City versus Florida.
Right.
Or New York versus Miami. The choice should be blue states versus no tax, low tax states. Because Florida would not be the destination I would choose. And obviously, I bought a house in Cincinnati, Ohio. but Cincinnati has an airport because Procter & Gamble is built there. You can fly anywhere.
Right.
It's incredibly low cost. And Florida has some of the problems that New York does in terms of overregulation. The housing market, the homes and condos and high-end condos in Florida are very overpriced. Insurance is skyrocketing in Florida because of the hurricane and weather risk. However, Ron DeSantis and the legislature passed a law after the Surfside Towers collapsed that has forced condo towers that were older to do a structural assessment, which drove up the cost of engineering. And then if you have any urgent structural needs, you had to fix them immediately, and you also have to set up a reserve fund. And that has driven a glut of condos on the market, and elderly people and older people have been forced out of their condos. And so Florida has become a place that older people cannot afford to live. And don't act like it's not Ron DeSantis who did it. It is, and it needs to be fixed. So politicians are going to politic and make the same mistakes regardless of party.
Well, what I noticed in Florida after that collapse, a lot of those buildings, in fact, did need to be reassessed because a lot of them were old and they hadn't been kept up, and there was the risk of damage, right? And look, my parents live in Pompano. They just ended up selling theirs because they're being hit with developers that want to come in, knock down the old, because they're in a co-op style building like in the late 60s, but they've been there for 35 years. It was great. But it's an old building. And so the developers will come in, there's the Waldorf, there's the Ritz, there's the Four Seasons, all buying up this property and building brand new again, right? Because these people are going to get hit with these big assessments to bring their old buildings up to
If you're an 80-year-old woman and you were forced to sell your condominium because you can't handle the HOA fees now, where are you going to move? You have to move in with a family member who lives in Illinois, where you came from originally. That's what's happening.
Well, or you move further inland away from the water.
Where?
You move further inland.
That's not appealing in Florida.
Well, okay, but I understand.
Yeah, next to the Everglades and the swamp. Yeah, that's where they're moving. I'm not joking. It is not.
Yeah. I'm a contrarian.
They did not do a phased rollout of these regulations.
Right.
And what it's done is, I started talking about the moment it happened, and it is screwed over lower income, fixed income, older people residing in Florida.
Right.
And it's benefited, hedge fund managers.